the other reasons that we can be, and you can be, a business-building superpower, besides the good that we do, is if you work at making yourself truly a character-based leader so that you can provide character-based leadership. It's by far the most important kind of leadership you can provide. We all live in a deteriorating world morally. And the challenge with starting to think selfishly and not being a servant leader is that we then struggle with our decision making. You know, even as and our company continues to draw overwhelmingly good people because our system is built on helping other people in the marketplace and, of course, with the team. I couldn't have advanced to my first promotion or my second or my third, much less senior leadership stuff, had I not been willing to devote myself to building others and their businesses in order for mine to grow. The thing that's wonderful about strength of character is that we then have the privilege of enjoying good decision making. You know, and we have some pretty good people at the corporate level that make good decisions. I think first and foremost about Joe DiPaolo and the kind of man he is, his wonderful wife, his family. And I think of the hundreds, thousands of field leaders that are making good decisions, not just selfish decisions. You know, but there's some that struggle. I think we all have lessons to learn. We all can constantly be improving. There's no point in life at any age where you can turn it off and it's okay. You know, and the cool thing about character-based leadership and the power to use your business is you end up being an excellent mentor and a coach. People feel your care, your concern, your interest because it's sincere. And it makes for some pretty special friendships. It also makes for a pretty awesome brand that you would have for yourself and your family and your business, your team. You know, and this requires me to talk a moment about the difference between short-term and long-term thinking. There are all kinds of situations that present themselves to you. You know, like in leadership. And you're working with somebody and they're struggling. And you've got to sit down with them and talk about the tough stuff. But you've got to coach them on the things you need to help them do to improve. And you need to do that thoughtfully, and you do it respectfully. But you got to do it. I would wade into people's lives like wading into a swimming pool. So sometimes I was up to my neck in it. But I'd talk to them about how they treat people. If I saw them in a relationship and they weren't doing that well, you know, I mean, they were being disrespectful to each other or whatever it was, or quick to anger, or whatever it might be. I coach that stuff. It's hard. It's easier to avoid it. But that's short-term thinking. I'm thinking long-term about who I knew these people wanted to become. And I certainly knew they wanted to be happy. We all do. And there's certain behaviors that don't bring happiness and certain behaviors that do. And it all comes from your understanding of character and morality and doing the right thing. And you've got to just stay on it and on it and on it. Because your team changes. And people need, even the people that are sticking around, you know, and there are plenty of them, but they need to keep hearing it again and again. There's some of you that have been around a long time, I heard this many times, and I know it's hitting you again. Just like it hits me when I talk about it again. And so we've got to think long term. In the marketplace, I'm sitting with a family, and they're thinking short term. They're spending all their money. They're not building toward a future. And they're setting that terrible example for their children, passing that lousy legacy on to the next generation, who then pass it on to your grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Or you can turn it around. And you can start thinking long-term and helping them think in terms of 10 years and 20 years and 30 years. Cindy and I sat down 2 nights ago, and we did planning for the next 15 years. In 15 years, I'm 80 years old. But we were looking at our financial goals and the things we were saving money in, and that's the habit we have. One day it'll be the end, and that will pass to the next generation. And I promise you we'll have passed these principles and understanding. And we have been passing on the character-based stuff all along the way. And it's a pretty glorious thing as to what the future holds for our family multi-generationally. Don't you want to do that in your family? Don't you want to do that, help other people do that in their families? And part of character-based leadership is dedication to them, to the consumer. Our culture, our nation, our government, a lot of Wall Street suffers terribly from the lack of commitment they all have to serving the people they're there to serve. It ends up being about power and money and fame, and our government $20 trillion upside down and getting worse every minute, and nobody wants to face it, and the consequences are going to be dire, just like it would be if your family was in terrible debt. Ultimately, it falls apart. But as an individual, you declare bankruptcy once, they even let you declare it twice. What happens to a nation when they declare bankruptcy? And it's the United States. I don't know if we'll end up there. We're on the path. Another reason you need to help individuals and families, and you need to get your act together. Right? Because you can keep your head when everybody else is losing theirs. You can take care of the people that you love. And I want you to be dedicated to those people, and I want you to be dedicated to your team. And so, I hope you're getting a feeling that I'm recruiting you from the heart. That there's great good that we do, and there's great need for it. And the greatness of our company, and the reality of us continuing to be a business-building powerhouse, is critically tied to character-based leadership, right thinking, right decision-making, long-term thinking, that provides great mentoring to people. And then people feel our dedication to those things. This is why we're here. This is the heart of it all. And that's why if you ever forget that, then your character's weakening. We stay dead as a consumer, and we keep serving our team, and we're going to be just fine. Our model has plenty of power then. But we got to stay dedicated to the consumer and doing what's right every time. Sometimes that even means walking away. And taking care of each other. We're going to like what's going to keep happening to us. So we stay dedicated to the consumer, dedicated to the team. We have character-based leadership. And this is the most important thing about our machine right now. And this is the toughest thing to duplicate. The toughest thing to duplicate. To build the army of people that we have that are this way. You take our comp system, you take how we've designed our hybrid agency operation, you take the pieces of the puzzle, and you'd like the part-timers and all of this stuff, you combine it, And this is the best place in the industry to be. That's absolutely my opinion. I have absolute conviction about it. You hear it in the tone of my voice. If you were right here in front of me, you'd see it in my body language, in the look in my eye, my facial expression. This is the best place to build a business in our industry. It'd be impossible to duplicate on your own. It'd be a massacre. There's no other company you can join where you get what we've got, and there's a reason we're the major player. Now we're going to take it a little more closer to the ground. Let's talk about the strength and earning power of our industry for a minute. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this, but this is important. Our industry is centuries old. It's interesting, the insurance part of our industry started in 1760 in the United States. 1760. I don't know when it started in Canada. Look that up. It's measured in trillions. One of the few industries that is. The other one is government debt that's measured in trillions, as I just mentioned. But this is measured in trillions accumulated. Commissions are in the tens of billions annually. You know, we pay out hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars to our field force for going out to do something that helps people. It's a wonderful thing to participate in. We've taken great delight in it through the years and plan on taking great delight in it in the future. It does well in good times or bad. You know, and that I have come to appreciate that because in the we're in our 38th year in the industry, and we've seen a lot of ups and downs and recessions and like the terrible setbacks in 2008, but I've seen something called Black Monday and Black Friday and Black other days, and in the stock market and in the economy and recessions, and yet I've seen booms too, and I've seen the prime rate. This was early in my career at 20%. You know, mortgages at 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Obviously, nobody's buying houses at that point. You know, and yet our business rocked during those times. The more insecure people get, especially in the middle class, they have nowhere to turn. And so when you show up, they're kind of excited to listen. That fear was a great motivator, you know, just like we rocked out of 2008 and had tremendous growth years. And we've grown this year, but not like we did those first 4 or 5 years after 2008, and the market dropping 40%. And so I love the power of our industry that way. Cindy and I, we have the best business in the world. She was talking to a great group of spouses. I think there were 5,000 people on that call with Raj and Jazz Dhaliwal last night. Two just wonderful leaders. Wonderful. I don't think we have better. Anyway, before I turn this into extol the virtues of how awesome Raj and Jazz are, Raj and Jazz, let's go ahead and continue and finish the webinar. You know, another thing that I love about our industry right now, the product quality and the design of products is superb. As I mentioned, the best that they've ever been. You know, we are a real stagnant industry for, better part of a century. You know, and we've been part of that movement that caused this change. You know, and I'm proud of that. It's one of the things I'm proudest of. So a century old, measured in trillions, billions paid out every year. Does well in good times or bad. Tremendous products to take to the consumer. The market need, don't need to dwell on it, is overwhelming. You know, it literally overwhelms me sometimes. You know, and traditional distribution to families has declined. And all that just spells opportunity with a capital O and 10 exclamation points. You know, it's just a wonderful thing. And I want to dwell on this part and give it its own slide.